Okay, my name is Ruth Ann Skidder Manuel. I swam from 1951 to 1955. I had a job in Cleveland and I could see I was not going anywhere, so I got in my car and drove here, and my sister-in-law introduced me to the Springs. I got the job, and I actually tried out and made it. It wasn't easy to join the Spring because you had to do a lot of underwater swimming, and the main thing that usually would take people out where they couldn't make it would be the hose breathing without the mask, trying to teach yourself to take a deep breath and not be breathing through your mouth and your nose, I mean. But I was able to do that and stayed there for a good while and had a great time as a mermaid. Well, we had our mermaid house over on a little bank, and then there was a little place where we kept our fins and masks and things, and a little boardwalk that went out into the water. And we'd leave the mermaid house and walk over to that, and then dive down off the boardwalk into the water and go down to enclosed pressure. It had a glass on it, and it had a little place where you scooped under and you went in there, and it had air so you could breathe. And once we were in there, then we'd come out and we'd do different ballet right in front of the little theater there and that, and then swim over to the other side, and we'd stop, and they had two little logs, and we'd sit on the logs and we'd drink a drink out of take our mask off and drink some kind of orange drink and that, and eat a little something and that, and then we'd go right in front of the glass and we'd take our mask off again, and we'd feed the fish, and there would be tons of little fish all around on us and everything. I think the thing that was amazing, though, we added to the Spring. When people saw the water, and they couldn't believe we were actually in there swimming. It was so clear and so beautiful, with eel grass all around us and that. And we were just really a little adding to that beautiful, beautiful Spring. But I think the things that we had to do were really hard. They were something that took a lot of time to learn, and you had to have the ballet experience to make your show look good. We had a certain routine that we did, and we always knew exactly, and the announcers would explain what we're going to do then. After we fed the fish, then usually we did buoyancy, where we'd go up and down and show how we could stay at one height, where we'd go up and we'd stop there, and then we'd come down to the middle, and always doing our air to where we could sink way down or stay in the middle and that. So we did the buoyancy, we fed the fish, we ate and drank, and then usually the next part of the show would be swimming over to the boil where the water came out, I don't know, millions of gallons of water. I don't know exactly what it is anymore, but it was really, really something where you could see the water coming up. And we'd have to swim down. One girl would go over to the little stage, the other one would swim down into the hole, down to there, and they had sort of a little limb in there, and you could sit there and you'd have your air hose. And then we'd jerk the air hose twice, and she would pull it up, the one that was in the stage over there. And what I would do is I would come out of that hole and swim very, very easily, take a really, really good deep breath of air. And when you're doing that, you have to also equalize your ears constantly, because you can't just come right flying up, or you'd have air embolism. So I'd take little swimming easy and let out a little air and go clear over to this theater where the audience is, and do quite a bit of ballet there, and then I'd swim very easily back over to the little stage, and I'd do quite a few ballets there, and I had the record for a good long time, the whole time I was there, for 2 minutes and 26 seconds, and it actually got to 2 minutes and 30 seconds eventually. And so I was very proud of that. And it really gave a thrill to the audience, because they'd be trying to hold their breath, and nobody could even do it with not doing anything, you know, and I'd be swimming. And so then we'd both come out of the little stage, and we both do ballet together, and then swim over to where the water came up, and we'd do the adagio pose and come up with that water pushing it up to the surface, and that would be the little show. And I thought it was very good. It just had drama, it had beauty, and it had something that the people really liked. They liked and every now and then there'd be a turtle going through and a big fish and different things that added to the show. It was a nice show. I was also part of The Creature Walks Among Us. It's a movie that they put out at Wakulla Springs, and they needed 2 people, and they asked 2 mermaids to come up, and I tried out with the first time I ever put on tanks and that. I was able to swim all around, and they thought I looked more like Lee Snowden, so I got the part. It was a wonderful experience. Ricco Browning was the creature, and he'd be swimming all around in there. And right today, you can go, it's a classic, and they'll put it on television, and you can watch it on television or emails or anything. It's been there for years, and everybody will all call me and say, oh, there's your movie. But the part I had was, I was swimming along with the 2 men in that, and then they decided to go on ahead of me, and I went too deep by myself, and I got what they call air embolism. I was down there and floating around and everything, so they had me take off my mask, and then I did all sorts of ballet and things like that, and then I sort of laid out, and one of the guys saw that I was really having a terrible time down there, and they came over there and took me up to the top. So that was my part in The Creature Walks Among Us. When we were swimming along, he was in the bushes and coming out and doing different things. So yeah, it was quite a something. Everybody was asking me for my autograph, and I was just I thought I was really some kind of a star for a while there in The Creature Walks Among Us, but it was fun. Howard Hughes came to the show, and I had the privilege of doing the actual swimming that day, and it was really neat. What we did in our show was we'd always come up over the top. There's like a little hole, like a little thing where the window, and then you could come up over the top of the window, and we'd always ask somebody to come in and swim with us. And so I did that and came up over the top, and I looked, and there was Howard Hughes, and I said, how about you coming in and swim with me? And he said, oh, no, 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 no. But it was really neat when I swam for Howard Hughes. And I saw his movies after that and saw about his life and things, and he was quite some man. But what he was here in Brooksville for was, he was with Alfred McKeithen, which was the banker, and they were talking about what they might put here in Brooksville and in some kind of project that they were doing, and he happened to come on over to the spring. For some of the advertising we did, my father actually came to the Springs, and he's a little bit of a daredevil. He was steeplejack, always climbed up the flagpoles and fixed them, and sometimes really big buildings in Cleveland, he'd have to go way up in the top, and that was one of his side jobs, actually. But he decided to come into the water with me, so we all thought it would be sort of funny to see him, what he did, and so he was excited about going in and jumped in the water, and they have several pictures of me and my father, me holding him and standing up and everything, and him swimming around in there. And it did make it to the papers. It went all over the Cleveland papers and everything, a picture of me and my father swimming at Weeki Wachee. We also did some different ads in the paper about a young baseball team came, and they put that in the paper and showed us posing with them, and also Patsy and I doing an underwater scene where we had football and us showing it underwater, different little things that they'd always have us doing in between our shows that made it interesting. Also, the thing that maybe people don't realize, that we had to announce the shows. What we did was we swam the shows, we took tickets, and we also announced the shows. And I loved doing that. I loved watching the audience and how they reacted to different parts of the show, and trying to make it as very interesting as I could. And I liked that part of Weeki Wachee. It was a wonderful experience. It was something that I really enjoyed. And it's good to have a few years where you have fond memories and that you did something different. The girls that we swam with were very, very close. We risked our life and depended on each other. And so when we were swimming there and that, they're handing us the hose and making sure, you know, and things, we relied on them. So we got very, very close. It was a very tight bond between the mermaids and whoever were there. We had some difficulties with our ears. Sometimes we had, you know, because of the algae and that, our bodies weren't made exactly to stay in the water that much and that, but we all went through that like soldiers, and I think we loved our job. We loved doing what we did, and we got very close. When I first came to Weeki Wachee, I was amazed. The big highway right near us, here it came a cattle drive with, he's bringing his cattle right straight down the road there. That's how far back it is right now. Now it's a big, huge highway that keeps people going all the way up to Tallahassee. But that was interesting to me. It was a culture shock. It really was. It was something, but I loved it. I liked it, you know, all that. It was just so interesting to have something like that, such a change. I say that it's a good experience. It's something that they should put their heart and soul in, try to do the very best you can, and keep the show going.